Okay, so I opened I opened to 6 with ace king off and the button being the lag I am. Alright, this check back. Very interesting spot to talk about. This is a hand that works both pretty well as a hand with showdown value and pretty well as a bluff. So this is one of those hands where you really can make an argument both ways. What hands do we want to usually continuation bet bluff with, or just bet bluff with on the flop? We want to bet with hands that have very little showdown equity, right? They're only usually going to win by improving, or if their opponent folds. And we want to bet with hands that still have some equity, that still have some chance to improve. So like your textbook example of a hand to continuation bet with would usually be like a gut shot. It has no showdown value, so you want him to fold, but even if he does call, gut shots still have awesome equity against their opponent's calling range. A gut shot is going to win no matter how strong your opponent's check calling range is. A textbook example of a terrible hand to bet with here for value would probably be a hand like 6-7 or 6-queen. That said, I've done it way too much over my lifetime, but that's probably a pretty bad hand to bet with, because when you bet with 6-5, when you bet with like Queen 6 or Queen 5 or whatever, you're kind of making him fold all of his worst hands, so you can still get check raised off it, and it doesn't work very well as a bluff. It has 5 outs, but that's nothing amazing. This hand's kind of in between. We can make him fold a hand like 2s, 3s, 4s, or a 5 or a 6 by the turn of the river, and it has 6 pretty good outs, but it also can win at showdown. So this is very much one of those spots where you're really going to want to look at your opponent's stats, whatever read you have with them at the time, and then decide whether or not you want to use this as a bluff or check back. Both lines, I think, are very much okay here. So I did check back. I check back, obviously I'm just trying to get to showdown at this point, get a really bad river and he pots it, so then I go ahead and just muck. It's very unfortunate to get that river and have to fold. I don't think we could call here, to be honest. When the flush getting there and the jack getting there, and for all we know, he's checked a 10 or could even be bluffing with a worst hand, bluffing with a better hand, although I think that's unlikely. So we just got a bad river and we need to fold here. As I said, I think once we check the flop, checking the turn's very, very standard. We're trying to get the showdown with our ace-king. Flop, you can really go either way. Queen-jack suited on the button. I do make a cold call here. We want to usually pause whenever we do something like this and think, okay, he has 150 hands, he's opening 32% under the gun, 41% in middle position, 20% cutoff, 20% button. So even though we have a small sample, this guy doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. So his cutoff opening range might not be as wide as it should be. His button opening range probably very clearly isn't as wide as it should be, and he's opening too much in early positions. Nevertheless, we have a very nice, pretty good hand here, so it's going to be a call either way. We get that flop, he checks, then I make a bet. So this would also be a very good example of a spot to usually bet. People, when they check here, they're going to be check folding too much, and we have a really good hand that works as a bluff randomizer. What were the two things we're looking for to bet with a hand as a bluff? We want a hand that has very, very little showdown value, and we want a hand that can improve. This hand can very clearly improve with a queen or a jack. Those turn cards are usually going to be good, give us the best hand, and we have almost no chance of winning at showdown, so we go ahead and bet. Doesn't need to work half the time, and it works.